very warm welcome to you. It's a pleasure to have you join us on this special edition of Almond Finance and Wealth Report, your source for all the latest happenings in the world of business. I am Jennifer Obidi. On this special edition of the program, we take a breather from our usual lineup to bring you highlights of the 44th African Insurance Organization Conference and General Assembly AIO that took place recently at the Spec Resort Muyonyo, Kampala, Uganda. The theme was Furthering the Financial Inclusion Agenda of African Nations Through Insurance. Over 800 delegates from more than 60 countries were in attendance. Declaring the conference open, the Vice President of Uganda, Edward Sekandi, said that the potential for Africa is huge and the future is ours.
The potential for Africa is huge. Opportunities are immense. The future is ours. We sort out what needs to be done. Africa shall not continue to tempt the greedy by being weak.
Being a continental platform, the rich cultural heritage of Africa was on display. What can I say? You're in for a spectacular time, so sit back, relax, and spend this time with us. Details coming up shortly after the break. Please stay with us.
The theme of the African Insurance Organization Conference and General Assembly AIO is carefully chosen each year to reflect the strategic direction of insurance practitioners on the continent. The 44th edition with the theme Furthering the Financial Inclusion Agenda of African Nations Through Insurance, held recently in Kampala, Uganda, provided yet another platform for insurers on the continent to brainstorm on how to boost the insurance sector in Africa, not just for economic growth, but most especially to better the lives of Africans. In attendance were over 800 delegates from more than 60 countries. Welcoming delegates to the conference, the Chief Executive Officer, Insurance Regulatory Authority of Uganda and Chairman AIO Local Organizing Committee, Alhaji Kadunabi Ibrahim Lubenga, said that access to finance and financial services empowers people in many ways and reduces inequality, thereby accelerating economic growth.
The agenda for the conference is furthering financial inclusion through insurance, which covers a wide range of interesting subjects relating to increasing insurance uptake on the African continent. And for us in Uganda, we will pick very many lessons. Ladies and gentlemen, access to finance and financial services empowers people in many ways. It also reduces on the income inequalities and thereby accelerate economic growth. I am optimistic, therefore, that after this conference, we shall all be able to reinvest ourselves and adapt to the changing needs of the markets we serve as we respond to their needs and aspirations.
The theme of the AIO conference, Furthering the Financial Inclusion Agenda of African Nations Through Insurance, places insurance professionals at the center of Africa's development and emphasizes financial inclusion, which makes a significant positive difference in the lives of vulnerable individuals, especially by helping them mitigate shocks and improve the management of their expenses. Declaring the 44th Conference and General Assembly open, the Vice President of the Republic of Uganda, Mr. Edward Sekandi, stated that Africa holds enormous potential, but to develop, leaders must do away with greed and selfishness.
With countries in the region already having health insurance schemes, Uganda will soon follow suit, and being the last East African country to introduce the national health insurance scheme. The sources of financing for health shall be contributions from government, that is 40.7% health insurance contribution, 52.9% and direct income of 6.4%. The potential for Africa is huge. Opportunities are plenty. The future is ours. We sort out what needs to be done. Africa shall not continue to tempt the greedy by being weak. In conclusion, I would like to thank the African Insurance Organization and the Insurance Fraternity in Uganda for organizing this continental platform meeting. I am looking forward to concrete decisions and recommendations that our countries can adopt and advance. I wish you all good liberation and declare the conference open. Thank you very
much. With the opening formalities over, delegates settled down for serious deliberations on the theme and sub-theme papers of the conference. The first session of the conference focused on driving insurance penetration, developing affordable, need-based products, and building an appropriate delivery system. Chairman of session was Mr. Miguel Solana, team leader, Impact Insurance Facility of the International Labour Organization (ILO). Panelists were Mr. Raymond Snyder, CEO Old Mutual South Africa, who shared the South African experience, Mr. Shakib Hassan of Wafa Assurance Morocco, who shared experience on bank assurance, Mr. Reham Bott, Group Business Director, Africa and Asia, Micro Insure, who shared experience on channels of distribution. The second session of the conference focused on sustainable agriculture through agricultural insurance. Chairman of session was Dr. Charles Mukama, Commissioner, Ministry of Agriculture, Uganda. Speakers were Mrs. Rehab Karanji Kariuki, Managing Director, Egg Africa, Kenya, and Mr. Shedrack Mafumo of the World Bank Group. In his presentation, Mr. Mafumo stated that there is nothing like undercutting in insurance, as each insurance company have different capital and risk appetites.
There are so many times that when I've heard people either saying that an insurance company is undercutting. I think we've heard that a lot of times, that we've been undercutting. And for me, I've asked and said, when you say undercutting, what do you really mean? Because each and every company has different capital, there's different appetites. So for me, when we are talking about undercutting, it's when the parameters that some of the parameters we have looked at there are actually unfavorable, or they are going against what has been set by your risk management committee. Most often, what I see in index insurance, for example, is you have got a client, you give them a premium, let's say, of 7%. Then they will come to you and say, well, I want you to reduce my premium to 6%. As a manager, I think what you should ask yourself is, do I know what it means to reduce the premium from 7% to 5%? In most cases, you don't know. Because what we have asked is, we have asked your actuary to calculate a premium, and they've given you one premium rate. But that premium, one single premium rate, you don't know what it means. If it goes up or down, are you eating into your shareholders' profit? Are you not? So if you look at that table, it actually tells you, if I charge 3%, what is the probability that I'm going to have a loss in this coming season? What is the probability that the money, the reserves that I have, that I've kept, and the money that I'm collecting is going to be wiped out? When I look at that same premium rate, what is the probability of, what is my combined ratio likely to be? What is my economic value add? Because economic value add there, I'm just talking about, am I adding something more to my shareholder in addition to the required rate of return? Your shareholder will only keep capital if they find that you're giving them more than what they're asking. So at each of those premium rates, we are actually able to tell, am I giving him or a negative economic value add, or am I giving them a positive?
The third session of the conference focused on the sub-theme Accelerating Financial Inclusion Through Regulation, a case study for harmonization of insurance regulation. Chairman of session was Mr. Jean Kako Diogu, Chairman Group NSIA Côte d'Ivoire. Speaker was Mr. Jonathan Dizan, Deputy Executive Officer Insurance of the Financial Services Board, South Africa. In his presentation, Mr. Dizan said that the key to inclusive insurance on the continent is effective regulation and supervision.
Inclusive insurance markets matter, but the key message is that a key element of that is regulation and supervision. So effective regulation and supervision matter. You're not going to have insurance market development and inclusive insurance unless you have effective regulation and supervision. And that's because, firstly, of the nature of the industry that we're talking about. We're talking about an industry with an extreme asymmetry of information between the customer and the provider, which means that the customer is making upfront payments for the service long before the customer has an opportunity to experience its value. It really is, I can't think of many other industries like that, where people are paying money upfront in the hope that they get value for what they paid for far down the line. So that means the customer requires confidence. As a result of this business of promises, it requires a high level of consumer confidence and trust. And building that confidence requires effective regulation and supervision. And moving on to the next slide. What do we mean by effective regulation and supervision? Because effective regulation and supervision in Africa cannot be paraphrased as Solvency II or ICS or anything like that. Effective regulation and supervision is firstly regulation and supervision that is proportionate. So it's proportionate to the nature, scale and complexity of the insurance business conducted. In essence, it does enough to protect consumers whilst allowing market development to happen.
The fourth session of the conference focused on developing effective consumer education approach. Chairman of session was Mrs. Delphine Maggio, COO, Alliance SE and President, Insurance Institute of South Africa. Speakers were Mr. Tavaziva Mazinga, Managing Director, Swiss Re Middle East and Africa, and Mr. Toki, CEO, Financial Sector Deepening, Uganda. In his presentation, Mr. Musoki started with a thought-provoking questions for the insurance practitioners.
Let me ask the question of all you insurers. why is the business of promises having such a shallow penetration? That is food for thought for you. It's for you to think about. You know, I had earlier on that insurance is a business of promises. I've been around and I've been awake, so I've been following those presentations. Why is insurance penetration so low in all of our countries? Ask yourself that question, and that's part of what Delphine was talking about. Is it the cost? Is it the lack of consumer education? I think it is all those plus more. Consumer education alone is not the panacea, it's not the magic bullet, it's not the only solution to enhance access to financial inclusion, to financial services. However, let's look a little bit more as to what is consumer education before we go on to see what are the effective approaches that we can use to facilitate this process. So we need to provide consumers with the knowledge, skills, and confidence to manage their personal finances. How can we do that? And how can we do that as businesses? You know, business people are not charity. They are not in the business of just giving away money. To be able to provide consumer education, you must have the ability to pay for it. Consumers must be provided with, this is the alternative definition of consumer education. Consumers must be provided with the knowledge and confidence to fully control and grow their assets. That's a bit strange as a definition, but think about it as insurance. If I have access to insurance, I'll definitely grow my assets, either in the form of putting aside money for a pension, insuring my assets so that when I lose it can be replaced, and other forms. And so if I am able to have access to insurance and I use it, I am going to grow my assets.
One of the high points of the AIO this year was the presentation of the Africa Insurance Barometer 2017 Market Survey prepared by Dr. Sanchez of Arms & Company, commissioned by the AIO Secretariat in Douala, Cameroon. The report draws on in-depth interviews with over 28 senior executives of regional, international insurance companies and intermediaries operating in Africa. In a press conference where the Secretary General of the AIO, Ms. Priska Suarez, also shed light on what her office is doing in the areas of collaborations with various governments on the continent on the issue of regulation.
The AIO is starting off by engaging the supervisors so that they are link to governments, and so they have a good understanding of what the situation is, what governments need to do when they're signing contracts for huge projects. Because it's true that most of this, the insurance companies cannot fully, they cannot retain much of those risks, but at least whatever it is that can be retained locally, we should make sure that this stays on the continent. There are also issues of regulation, a number of things that come. So we have a lot of work to do. We know that it will take us some time, but we're starting off already. So that at least gradually we begin to address the issues so that within a short period of time, we hope African insurance companies or the African insurance sector will be able to retain more of the risks that are written here. So there are various factors, it's not just one thing, there's so many things, but we're working and we're trying to at least take it one at a time. If there are two issues that we can address at the same time, yes, we do so, but we do it step by step. So that's what the AIO is doing.
With the paper presentations over, day 3 of the conference started with the General Assembly. The General Assembly of the AIO provides opportunity for the various committees and associations to brief the House on their activities. Kickstarting the report to the General House was the Secretary General of the AIO, Ms. Priska Suarez. Some of the AIO committees that briefed the General Assembly were the Life Offices Committee, African Insurance Brokers Association (IBA), the Book Awards Committee, Association of Insurance Supervisors and Trainers, and a host of others. A prominent feature of the AIO Conference and General Assembly each year is the various dinner hosted by various insurance companies and reinsurance. Among such dinners this year was the award night hosted by African Re. The final curtain call of the 44th AIO Conference and General Assembly was the superlative closing dinner and the investiture of Alhaji Kadunabi Ibrahim Lubenga as the president of the AIO for the next 1 year. Guest of honor at the closing dinner was the Vice President of the Republic of Uganda, who was ably represented by the First Deputy Prime Minister, General Moses Ali, who was on hand to oversee the change of leadership.
Going to get a little poppy, and ladies and gentlemen, please warmly welcome the new president, Alhaji Kadunabi, ladies and gentlemen.
Delegates were treated to delicious cuisines and an array of entertainment.
On dit encore bonsoir à tout le monde. Bana ya mboka basango na bino.
No doubt, the 44th AIO Conference and General Assembly was a huge success by every standard. The stage is now set for the 45th edition, which will be hosted in Ghana in 2018.
Alright, that's our time on the program this week. I do hope you enjoyed every moment spent with us. Do join us again next week for another interesting episode. For now, you can connect with us on all our social media platforms, and those in Ibadan and environs can also enjoy this program on BCOS Television Ibadan every Thursdays at 6 p.m. My name is Jennifer Obidi. Until next time, from the entire crew, it's goodbye.
Listen up as Faith Owode brings you our Pidgin English program, Waiting Insurance They Do Serve, with different guests every week, airing live on Niger FM 102.7 at 9:45 a.m. every Wednesday.